Dude,
pump it up, pump it up.
Super light, man. Here, ready?
Okay. Oh, dude, honestly, I was like, I'm gonna drop this. Turbo car. We don't know the octane yet, but he wants a rolling start because he's got weak paddles. And then he's going to get Sean's Pro EFI Pro R turbo. But Sean's only running pump gas right now, 91 octane. We just did a big paddle test this weekend. I think most of the crew is pretty sick of me at this point because we've swapped wheels on my Maverick R so many times now. So we're gonna try these Packards out. They're close to like your System 3 style. Just a little bit more aggression right here. And then I'm gonna do them on the rears. They're supposedly a lot of fun. We just wanted to kind of try out a ton of tires this weekend. So we're gonna try these out front and rear. Mick over at Packard said, so fun to tune in. Nice thing is they're like fire selling them. So these are like dirt cheap front and rears. So if you guys want some paddle but don't want aggression, here you go. For those of you guys that haven't really played with paddles very much, right here this weekend has been a game changer for Brent. Brent's got a Pro R4 stock, Pro R4. He's been running the Tensors, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's been running the Tensors, which I had on my Pro R2, but I just thought it wasn't enough scoop for what we're trying to accomplish with our cars. So talked him into some System 3s so that he could have some front traction. He just had the rib in the front. And then he also went over here. And we got some Bigfoot Packard, but he was struggling the other rides, right, Brent?
Yes.
You would say that.
Yep.
Now, where are you at?
Right behind you.
Yeah, I keep looking around like, oh, dude, I bet we need a loop around to let Brent catch up. No, he's right here each time. So if you are going to the dunes, like, I hate to say this, but don't go cheap. Just don't go cheap. Go big. If you're not gonna go big, I do recommend, like, if you are looking for a paddle and you don't want to break the bank, I just ran these front and back on these ultralight SDSs. Like I say, Packard's like giving them away at the price that they're selling them for. Front and rears. I just swapped to the rear here. I'm gonna do a test here with these, but
33.
I'm looking for a
15,
big traction.
15.
But if you're really like, if you don't want to spend a lot on paddles, you're only doing once or twice a year, you don't really, you're not looking for a ton of traction, or you don't have a big horsepower car, to be honest, this was really fun. Like, you slide, it's a really fun dune tire. You get front traction, rear traction, so it keeps you in. You slide around, and so it's fun, but you still have traction. You're just not going to win a race of olds with those like you would with something like this. So that's why I'm back to that, is just to, we're hanging out with a Pro EFI Turbo Pro R. Like you gotta show up with everything you got to even, and you're still not even gonna be competing against but you gotta show up with the best you got. But I do highly recommend, if you're paddled on a budget, just do these all around. Before you throw thousands of dollars of trying to make it a faster car, make sure you have good paddles and make sure that you have some decent heights to them. Don't be buying 30s when you got a car that comes stock with 32s. Like, you gotta do the same size tire or a size above is what I would recommend. But we're playing with a lot of tires. I'm loving these for just doing it and ripping through the bowls. Way fun on a race. I'm loving it combo together here. And then Brent is no longer struggling to keep up. Game changer. Like, honestly, he was like complaining all about the paddle, and he didn't really want to say that on film, so I'll say it for him. He was complaining about his paddles before when he had his, you know, cheaper paddles. Now he's right here with us. He's actually proven it. I'm actually surprised how much of a difference it has made. So get a good paddle. Okay, so we are gonna do, so we got Shelby as the flag girl. She'll tell us when to go. Brent will do the filming. Chad will do the driving. I'll do the driving on mine. We'll just test it with our Packard setup the way it is right now, and then we'll put some STUs on it and see how it goes from there. So here we go. Just trying to get a baseline to know what the next tire will do, if it improves it or not. We just ran two-wheel drive every time, but my fronts were a little bit heavier because they have a scoop to them. That made me a little bit slower out of the hole because I wasn't running four-wheel drive. Chad's car seemed to outpull my car every single time, but we did notice in multiple tests to try to get a consistent average, and I'd say his car pulled about 3 or 4 cars on me on an average.
Yeah.
Blackbird, Sandblast. We got Cody and Dallin with the STU. We're swapping tires. We're gonna see what the difference is here. So we'll do another drag race, see if we can get some consistency out of our drag race. Me and Chad are not on the same page today.
From the tip of the paddle,
and then we'll do it a little bit and see how they run. Mad props to Dallin and Cody at STU, like just letting us come out here and demo them and seeing if these are worth moving into. You know, sometimes you have a hard time choking the price down, but then we realized already this weekend, I'd rather a bigger paddle than more power on my car.
Yep. And that's why this one.
So this is a 32 STU with a, what comp cut, 2?
This is a number 2 cut.
Number 2 cut. And this is a comp cut, Bigfoot with on a 33.
Here, it comes straight on.
Yeah, now you can kind of see the difference there. So there's measure, you know,
there's taller.
There's measure higher. They measure off of the case versus the paddle.
When mounted and inflated at 10 psi,
10 psi
on the proper width wheel. So if you look on our sidewall, it says recommended width 12 inches. So that's a 12-inch wheel at 10 psi, and then we'll lay it flat and get a straight edge and go from right there to right there.
Okay.
So that it's true casing size. Whereas I believe these are measured tip of the paddle to tip of the paddle.
Okay.
That's why it looks so different.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with either of them. It's just they're measuring in different places.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't think there's one tire company that measures the same way as the next tire company.
And we do that because this sits on the sand, this digs in, that sits into the sand.
Yeah. So
it just, we feel it gives a better true tire size for it. But that's why everybody's tires, you measure them and you're like, well, why are these so different in size when they have the same number on the sidewall?
Yeah, yeah. How does it feel?
Dude,
pump it up, pump it up.
Super light, man. Here, ready?
Okay. Oh, dude, honestly, I was like, I'm gonna drop this.
If you comp cut that tire, we'll get about 9 more pounds out of it.
All right,
wow.
Exercises in the morning.
Okay, let's see. All right, switch.
Okay. Swap. We're doing our exercises this morning.
Oh, dude.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a lot lighter.
Yeah.
Does it have anything to do with Will? Because I know someone will call us out on the wheel.
Yeah, you're gonna get called out on the wheel.
I don't know.
You get a bead lock, that weighs at least 30 pounds.
I also put extra paint on mine.
The paint weighs 70
That's
pounds.
a solid 50 pounds. 100%. I know he's got chrome there. Chrome's heavy.
Opinion though, this is the tire that I would run on Mavar and Pro R.
The Comp Cut 2 for a Mavar and a Pro R.
Or what I would run.
That's what you would run.
A lot of people prefer a 33 on the Pro R just because they're yeah, that little extra height. Straight performance wise, I still think this is probably the better option. Not everybody cares about that, and not everybody's even going to notice unless they run them side by side. I mean, you put these ones on the Pro R or the Mavar, you'll still be really happy with them. I think it feels great. But if you run them side by side, same day, same conditions, that's really the only place you'll be able to tell.
Okay, cool. Let's go rip.
All right.
See ya. STU drag test, and we did see a little bit of difference. Chad still won. The difference is it was a really close battle. Now he was only 1 to 2 cars on an average ahead of me. So we did see a difference, even though it's hard to see in the film because Chad definitely beat me every single time. But his car was built on a good day. Mine was built on Friday night, I think. Plus, I was running a heavier front that I wasn't using. We put the SDSs from Packard on there to see how those would do. And honestly, if you were looking for a sand tire and you don't want to spend a ton, to me that's the most budget-friendly, aggressive tire you can get. That's really fun because you can slide around, you have all 4 wheels spinning and all grabbing, so you still get good traction and you can still run. Now, are you going to be as aggressive as like a Bigfoot or an STU? No, like it's not going to compete with those tires. But if you're looking for a budget-friendly tire, that's the tire in my opinion, because I mean they're like 200 bucks, like pretty dang inexpensive. So we did do some testing. We did some testing with some Tensors. We ran Tensors on both of these Pro Rs and moved to a heavier quality, a bigger paddle. If you're gonna get into the big horsepower where the Pro Rs, the Maverick Rs, the X3s, you kind of just need more power. If you're getting into that kind of power, you're gonna need more paddle. So we did realize that a little bit. We did some demoing. Chad's got 34s on his Packards, the Bigfoots, and those have done really well, get you some good height. The nice thing about it is if you do a 34, it's almost like getting a Blackbird 32 from an STU. As far as like actually the size comparison. So that's kind of what you need to kind of think about there when you are getting a paddle tire, knowing like, is it a true 32, is it a true 34, like what is it as far as true size. I'm big believer that you need to have true size, if not an inch bigger on a paddle than what the car comes through, or you're gonna bottom out a lot. So we also did this. Brent has been complaining because he actually put some Tensors on his, said he couldn't keep up, and I was like, dude, you're kind of being a baby, like just drive harder, you know, because I've been able to keep up kind of in with my Tensors on my Pro R with the guys, but like I have high pace. I've got to be on the throttle earlier. It's just a little bit more, I have to be a lot more aggressive. So that's what I was telling him. I was like, just get more aggressive. At the end of the day, it was struggling, wasn't loving life. Put him into these Bigfoot 34s from Packard, and he's now like right there with us. It did make a huge difference. I'm a big believer in a high quality paddle, spending a little bit more on your paddle, moving up to like a Packard or an STU,
Comp
moving
cut.
up, and it is comp cut, and I am a believer in moving it into the comp cut series, just to get yourself to where you're more aggressive out of the throttle, you're not spinning, losing traction. And then the big thing is this to me was more of a game changer than just throwing on another 50 horse at its car. You know, we could have done something to this Pro R and got probably another 50 horse, right? But it'd still be spinning a lot. This probably was a bigger difference than just spending some money to get 50 more horse. Now, if you're gonna go Pro EFI and just throw this massive amount of power at your car, rails just took off. Sean's coming up behind him. He took off after they took off, and he's just gone. He started, what, like 7 cars behind him and waited till they left and went.
It went by like they're parked.
Well, that's because they're slowing for the whoops. They're not going to hurt their car. Sean's like, F it. It's just an axle. Yeah. Yeah. Then you even need to maybe, you may want to move into an STU and really get yourself up there in a high dollar tire that is really good quality. Those STUs are really good quality. It's something I would, you know, if it's in the budget, it's worth it. But if it's not in the budget, I don't think these are a bad route to go. They do really well, just not quite as aggressive at the end of the day. So, but great experience with all these paddles, all these different companies. Yeah, I don't recommend going cheap in a paddle, but if you're only going twice a year, you don't call that much. I'd go with those SDSs from Packard, or I'd move up to this if this is in the budget, a Bigfoot. And then if the budget allows an STU, I would move up to that STU. I do think it is a noticeable difference, but that's my 2 cents. Here's pretty much just almost a stock tire, right? But you haven't done a ton of cuts to it. Just explain to us why there's a 1 here, a 2 here, a 3 here, and why it grooves, and why you guys build a tire the way you build it.
This is this 3-2-1 cut. This is kind of unique. This is mainly just because this car makes a lot of power. It's super lightweight. It's helping it keep track side to side, but ultimately we're trying to save the trans on this. So it's not very common you're going to find a 3-2-1 cut. But this is a good example of the different sizes, right? So number 1 paddle here, number 2 paddle, and number 3, and then same starting over 3, 2, 1. So the number 1 paddle, what's nice is in the sand, this covers a lot of different applications and a lot of vehicles. But out in the sand, they all have different power ranges. So obviously you're gonna see a 32-inch, very common on side-by-sides. What's nice is they also pair with the smaller buggies. The difference in paddle sizes is specifically in power. So on a 32-inch, if you're right around just barely under the 200 mark on horsepower at the wheel, the number 1 paddle works really well. Anything over that to starting at 290, oh sorry, I got backwards. If you're stock on like side-by-sides, number 1 works really well under 200 horse. At the 200 wheel horsepower mark from the number 2 works. And then once you're, unless you're making over 300 plus at the wheel, then we would recommend the number 3 paddle. We have a lot of guys that are making over 300 and they're still running a number 2. One of the only reasons why you'll see that is number 1, driver preference. They like to have wheel spin and be able to just break loose a little bit. Anything, if you're just going straight off of power wise though, you can find all of those on Sand Tires Unlimited website. It shows, breaks down, and helps you choose which paddle you're going when you're shopping for a tire.
And then the weight, we kind of went over weight earlier. Like how does the whole weight situation work?
As far as how heavy the tire is?
Yeah.
So this tire specifically, straight out of the molds, this tire comes out weighing at 43 pounds. That's with all 3 different paddle sizes on. If you're cutting this to a number 1, play cutting that cuts it down all the way down to just 30 pounds. A number 2 paddle cuts it down to 32 pounds, and then obviously with the number 3 paddle being the biggest, that's going to weigh in at 33 pounds. So coming straight out of the mold, being 43 pounds, and even having the biggest paddle, you're shaving a whole 10 pounds off. There's a lot of people that ask us all the time, why don't you just leave all the paddles on? And the main reason why is because it's heavy. Number 1, you don't need to move that much weight. You're gonna rob horsepower. And number 2 is, you can see the number 3 paddle size difference between the number 1. On this tire, it's not showing, but basically the number 1 paddle sits right here behind the number 3. As this is turning and cutting through the sand, especially under a lot of throttle, it's never going to hit the sand. This is immediately, you're gonna get what's called paddle shadow, and the number 3 is gonna rob anything from hitting the number 1. It might hit just barely the number 2, and then where the number 3 would sit, which would be right here on an uncut paddle, that is gonna be the one that actually gets into the sand, okay?
So it's super versatile.
Yes.
The tire is extremely versatile.
Yep. A lot of people ask, why don't you just mold it that way? Obviously, I mean, seeing this tire on a buggy, and then you guys have them, right? We have them on side-by-sides.
Yep.
We have them in all different, number 1, power difference for a vehicle, but there's a lot of vehicles that need this size tire.
And how many paddles are there per, like if you did a 2 or a 3, like how many paddles is that?
So they're all gonna have the same amount of paddles. This tire specifically comes in a 16 paddle.
Okay, 16.
Yep, so it doesn't matter if you're on a number 1, number 2, or a number 3. It's
They'll all
always
be
gonna
a
be a
16
16
paddle.
paddle.
Okay.
Yep.
And is the 33 blaster the same, 16? Or is that one more?
No,
Because it's a bigger tire.
that one is a 18 paddle.
18 paddle?
And that one comes also in a 2 paddle option, so either a number 1 or a number 2.
1 or 2. Okay.
Yep. A 33 pounds on a number 3 cut.
Okay.
Comp cut, it drops it down to 27 pounds.
Okay.
Okay, so you're shaving excess weight.
About 6 pounds or whatever.
Correct.
To get it comp cut.
Hey, you did your math right this time. Dude, you're a mathematician. You are a mathematician.
First time.
So obviously, you know, it's only a few pounds coming off the tire, but in rotating mass, every about 7 pounds, or sorry, every 1 pound coming off of the tire is equivalent to losing 7 pounds off of your car.
Okay.
And if you're like me, you don't ask because you don't want to sound stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that, and you just don't know. And I mean, there's really not a whole lot of great information unless you just call like Dallin or Cody from STU and get some good information
Exactly.
to know. But I'm sure
There's a lot of internet trolls
They probably
that
don't
will-
want 100,000 people calling them all day. What should I do? But
we get
you know,
plenty of calls already.
But you
and-
guys are more than happy
Yep.
to help, right?
Of course.
So-
Yeah.
You're not going to find a lighter weight, better performing tire than a Sand Tires Unlimited. And the huge advantage to that is even though you're spending a lot more, most of these guys that buy them, the tires will outlive the life that they have in the car, meaning they're most likely going to sell the car and keep the tires and put them on a different one. On average, hard riding, you're going to get 5 to 8 years on average is what we found. I can tell you from special examples, we've seen them anywhere from 15 to 20 years still being used as long as they're stored, not out in the sun, right? You're taking
Not in
care of
120-degree weather.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they're stored inside and you're taking care of them, not being an idiot, ripping them on the street, they're going to last a long time.
Research,
about your
buy
suspension.
once, cry once, right?
That's right.
Steve
I-
has told us that. Buy once,
Yeah.
buy once.
And
Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Peace.